Well, Governor Ron DeSantis is using the powers of his office, including spending taxpayer dollars, to defeat two measures on Tuesday's ballot that would legalize cannabis and restore access to abortions in Florida. As Politico reports, the Republican governor and his administration have openly campaigned against the amendments during events organized by his official office. And they've spent taxpayer money on ads warning voters about the dangers of marijuana and pushing back on the abortion amendment, which would overturn the state's 6-week ban. No one knows the total cost, but investigative reporter Jason Garcia estimates that DeSantis has already spent $18 million of public money against the amendments. Some of that money, about $4 million, has come from the opioid settlement, which was supposed to be used to fight opioid abuse. According to the Tampa Bay Times, Florida law makes it a misdemeanor crime for an employee or officer of the state to use their official position to interfere with an election or influence someone's vote. The penalty is up to 1 year in jail. So, Alan, the governor says this is entirely legal because he's putting out information about ads that the other side is running that is false. But yet we have a state law that says you shouldn't do this.
Of course it's wrong, but it's also right out of the Donald Trump playbook that it is only a problem unless you can't get away with it. And who is going to investigate this? Who is going to prosecute it? The governor controls all arms of state government. So although you could be outraged about that, and it's finally up to the voters to decide on these two amendments, DeSantis is going to do whatever he wants to do, whether it's legal or not.
Natalie, this is unprecedented. I can't remember in my 40 plus years here seeing a politician in Tallahassee using public money to campaign.
Well, I think it's a decision.
At least campaign for an issue on the ballot.
Correct. In that vein, it all depends on the interpretation, because you're saying that he is campaigning about an issue on the policy side, or are you saying it's about politics? So I would argue that this is a gray area. I would argue that this is, for me, both of the issues, whether it's Amendment 3 or Amendment 4, are policy issues. For me, they're not political issues. And, I would agree that, it has become very politicized. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that our Constitution should be the home of policy issues that I believe is the responsibility and the charge of our legislature.
Has there ever been a time, though, where the governor has taken public money and put out ads and information on websites about public policy during an election? This breaks precedent, doesn't it?
It breaks precedent, but we also have something that's breaking precedent. We have never had a CEO of a large company spend $140 million to get this on the ballot for something like marijuana. We have never had to ever respond to educate the populace about the issues as it relates to the actual policy that's being put forth into our Constitution potentially.
Patrick, what do you think about this?
Well, I don't think it's great. For years, conservatives in this county and others would get really upset if any public official tried to use taxpayer dollars to promote a tax issue, when they want a tax increase, when they wanted a millage increase. And I remember, a lot of times the Tea Partiers and all would be on top of the county administration. You can't do anything except do an informational piece. And this is not informational. It is not the governor's job to use public money to call strikes and fouls on commercials on whether he believes they're misleading or not. And the reality is that on all political issues, you end up with some commercials that are misleading. So, I just find that if the Republicans are going to get on the counties and cities about pushing, using public money to push issues, then they should treat the governor the same way.
Barry, some of the money came from the opioid settlement fund. It was designed to help people get opioid addiction treatment and dissuade them from using opioids. This isn't the purpose of that money. $4 million.
So I think I reject the whole premise of this argument. First of all, these are informational, and we have a great precedent in this. Reuben Askew, remember, in the 70s, campaigned as the governor for the corporate income tax. And he bought the shirt in Atlanta, and he bought the shirt in Tallahassee at the Tallahassee Mall. And then Bob Graham, as a U.S. Senator, which is still a state official, campaigned to get the Board of Governors put back in after the Board of Regents was was abolished. So we have a precedent of the top elected officials in the state doing this. But this is informational. And on the marijuana, he runs the Department of Health. So the Department of Health, which is saying now, should say nothing about what's being put out. So I disagree. Now, I do think that he went too far in threatening the TV stations, and I thought that was wrong, and the federal courts agreed with him. Judge Walker struck that down. But as far as getting information out, that's his obligation as governor to get the information out. And we do have a precedent from the darlings of the left who love Ruben Askew and Bob Graham. They did it. Why wasn't it wrong then?
They didn't spend public money.
They were traveling as
They
on
didn't
the
spend
governor.
public money.
Hold a news conference.
Okay, Steve Busquet, let's bring you into this. What do you think about this controversy of using this public money for this purpose?
Yeah, I think my friend Barry Edwards is half right here. This is one of the worst abuses that we've seen from Ron DeSantis, and there have been many. And he mentioned the threat. He criminally has threatened to haul television stations into court for exercising their First Amendment right to run ads on the Abortion Rights Amendment. But I think as bad or worse than that is the politically slanted financial impact statement that DeSantis got a handful of people to cook up to raise all sorts of false flags about the potential impacts of an abortion rights amendment. I was at early voting sites in South Florida last week, and voters were telling me I voted no on the abortion amendment. I didn't understand it. It's too long. It's too wordy. It's too confusing. If that's a trend, it's having exactly the impact that DeSantis wanted. Ruben Askew never rewrote a ballot question to influence the public.